Quark's perspective. I stand beside a fountain, in a square, located in the largest city on any Requali world, my child in my arms. I still remember the first time I came to the Cradle World, from Kakakui. It all seemed so grand. Strolling around places I only knew from history texts and films. That boy never would have believed you if you told him he'd life bond with a member of the Clan High Spire, let alone have a child with her before he even turned 40. I spare a glance at the fountain, depicting one of Taqual's ancestors driving a spear through a rival with her talons, her wings open in a steep dive, her beak open in a fierce screech. Have to say, I don't particularly care for the imagery. My four eyes turn to the sky, and I search for my life mate, long enough that when Victor smirks, "Sup, Corey?" from ground level, it startles me. I look down to see my wife and the godfather of my child, then answer, "I'm alright. To sup yourself," causing a grin. "Did you enjoy catching up with your boyfriends from the academy?" smiles my wife. "I did. It was very nice to reconnect. More than I expected had chicks already." "Aw. Do you feel you're less special now?" quips Victor. I turn my face down to Takak and answer, "No. There's no question that this is the most special chick," causing chittering from my life mate and laughter from my friend. "You guys want to get going?" queries Victor, bending to offer his shoulders to us. We climb up and he begins wending his way in the direction of an enormous looming palace built around a monumental spire of rock. As we walk, Victor comments, "I love those moons," pointing up at the cluster of 3 blue crescents framed against the mauve sky. "Wish Earth had moons like that." "You don't think a single ice-white moon is a fitting companion to a death world, Victor?" I ask mirthfully. He looks up with a jovial frown and asks, "What's that supposed to mean?" "I don't know. It makes it feel a touch haunted, maybe. Eerie? Like you've died and found yourself in an unpleasant afterlife," I smirk. "Oh yeah. Just the vibe I want for my homeworld. Goth chic hell," he chuckles. We keep walking, and pass a family of clanless traders who built a combination home and shop, 4 meters in the air, on the back of a domestic quarat. The enormous, flightless animal's long neck extends another 3 meters from its back. "Always felt like I'm going to get stood on when I have to walk past one of these guys," says Victor, reaching up to run his hands through the shaggy feathers on the half-ton creature's side, causing it to twist its neck curiously to look at him. "It's a wonder you guys domesticated them." "This from a man who saw an Atescan merc beast and immediately decided she was so cute that she needed to be made a pet," retorts my life mate. "Touché," smiles Victor with a finger gun. We make our way through the tight streets toward the base of High Spire. Victor approaches a gate and is challenged by a cadre of guards, every one of them a tall, powerfully built woman, with helmets covering their entire heads save for their beaks and eyes, and clutching spears in their talons. I would say that all of them together would be no match for Victor, but as he pointed out to me while we talked over Taqual's convalescing body, he can't fly. All they would have to do would be to go airborne and hurl their spears at him from beyond his range. They balk as they see the Terran approaching, and bring their spears forward in readiness, their advantage in flight capability apparently not having occurred to them, as none of them look at all like they are preparing to take off. Victor stops several meters from the gate guards, and Taqual announces us. "I am Taqual, 27th daughter of High Spire Peak, here with my life mate, Quark, my daughter, Takak, 28th daughter of High Spire Peak, and my friend and my daughter's godfather, Victor Cuddles Taylor. I ask that you let us pass, that we may be granted audience with my ancestor, Clanmother Rarakot, 6th daughter of High Spire Peak." The gate guards, clearly not expecting any arrivals by land, confer with one another for some moments before two of them turn and, using their spears as crutches, walk forward away from us. Victor begins walking between the two women, as the others resume their formation at the gate. We enter a wide ring garden, extending around 300 meters in every direction from the base of High Spire, itself a few hundred meters wide. One of the guards takes off and begins flying upward, presumably to announce our arrival at the top, clutching her spear in her talons. The other leads us to a lift platform at the base of the rock face, meant mainly for transporting heavy cargo from the ground, which, for one reason or another, can't be brought to the top by a craft. On this occasion, the cargo just so happens to be a flightless Terran. T'Qual and I take the opportunity to dismount Victor's shoulder. I can't think of specifically why, but entering where we're about to enter, riding the shoulders of a Terran doesn't seem quite proper. The platform begins to raise, and reveal the sprawling Rawaqual metropolis skyline. It's an interesting experience for me, seeing it recede like this without the context of being in flight, either by wing or by shuttle. We reach the top, well over a kilometre from the ground, and are rejoined by the guard who went ahead. Walking forward, we enter Castle Highspire. I have my heart in my throat as we walk down the covered walkways, through the lush, immaculate courtyard gardens. We arrange ourselves with T'Qual in the centre, carrying T'Kak, myself to her left and Victor to her right, and, for some reason, walking one or two of his paces behind us. We enter the throne room, and a herald, clearly chosen for the role due to superior lung capacity and volume projection, announces, "Presenting to Her Majesty, Clanmother Rarakot, 6th daughter of Highspire Peak, T'Qual, 27th daughter of Highspire Peak with her lifemate Quarak, born of the clan Korari, their daughter T'Kak, 28th daughter of Highspire Peak, and..." Here she hesitates, leaning over to the guard. "What is the Terran manservant's name?" Mortifyingly misapprehending his relationship to us. "Victor Cuddles Taylor," replies the stoic woman, without turning her head. "Victor Cuddles Taylor." We walk forward, through the cathedralic hall, lined with statues in the image of all the 17. We pass rows and rows of mostly empty perches. One of the very few occupied ones bears a woman who looks to be fully glaring at us. I suppose it was a little much to expect that Victor would be made to feel welcome at a ceremony like this. We approach a raised dais at the end of the hall, beneath the edifices depicting the mother and the father. At the top of the platform is a single throne perch, flanked by what must be some of the most physically imposing women in the clan. None of the guards can claim the top spot, though, because that would have to go to the woman on the throne perch. If she were to stand on the ground, she would be taller than Miss Hunter. She won't be quite so tall as Jenny, but it's no mean feat for a Raquali to be taller than any Terrans at all, with the possible exception of Miss Petrikov. She's powerfully built, with a harsh, almost predatory-looking beacon face. She's the only woman on whom I've ever seen entirely grey feathers not look like a pretentious affectation of venerability. I know they aren't natural, but I also know that, as what very well may be the oldest living Raquali, she's earned them a dozen times over. Clanmother Rarakot, 6th daughter of Highspire Peak, looks down on my group as we stop before her dais, her harsh, angular face unreadable. I half extend my wings and duck my head. My wife ducks her head but only extends one wing, the other cradling our child. Victor brings the knuckle of the thumb on his right hand to the left side of his chest, and casts his eyes down but does not duck his head. "Is this man here by your will, great-granddaughter?" she finally asked T'Qual, accompanied by her pointing her left talon at Victor. He is, great-grandmother, answers my wife respectfully. Why? Asks the tall woman, her tone neutral and level, but every bit as demanding, as if she were screaming for an explanation. My life-mate and I have engaged this man for a custom of his people, not shared by ours. He is my daughter's godfather, great-grandmother. If untimely death should take both me and my husband, the responsibility of raising her would fall to him. As such, we thought it proper that he witness this ceremony. Fixing her unblinking gaze on my life-mate, the venerable Clanmother appraises for a few moments before saying, If it is as you say, then I ask that he step forward rather than loitering behind you like a servant. Victor says nothing, does not look up nor drop his fist from his chest. He only steps forward a few paces to align himself with myself and Tequal. Having corrected Victor's minor breach of decorum, which I'm certain he must have viewed as respect, somehow, the Clanmother says, I permit you to raise your heads and bring in your wings. Tequal and I cease our salutes. Victor brings his eyes up, but hesitates for a moment, about whether to drop his fist, before seeming to take it as having been implied. Climb the steps and present my descendant to me, she instructs. We comply, climbing the steps to stand before the throne perch. With the height she gains from her perch, the grey-feathered woman is still slightly taller than Victor. She holds out her wings to Tequal, who proffers our daughter to her grasp. Takak fusses over being handed to her unfamiliar ancestor. Please, my child, please behave yourself just for a few moments. My silent plea goes unheeded, as Takak struggles with and bites at Rarakot's allular claws. The ancient woman does not seem the slightest bit perturbed by my child's tantrum. If anything, she seems to find it amusing. After a long examination, the woman pronounces, You have the makings of a fine young woman here. I dare say, with time, she may be a capable warrior of the clan, if that is what she wishes. With seeming satisfaction at the continuation of the strength of her line. Thank you, great-grandmother, answers my life-mate respectfully. Without warning, the ancient woman begins the ceremony we are here for. Grasping Takak, still fighting for freedom, with one set of her allule, and touching her forehead with the other, she says, I see you, child, and I accept you. Wherever you may fly, this place shall be your home. This clan shall be your family, and I shall be your matriarch. Grow strong, grow capable, grow wise. Do not grow arrogant. Remember that power is not a gift given freely. It incurs a heavy price, responsibility. There is much for you to learn, child. Do so always, as a proud daughter of High Spire Peak. I release a breath I didn't know I was holding, as my daughter completes her induction into her mother's clan. Rather than handing her back to Tequal, Rarakot gives Takak to me, and says, I ask now that all, except my great-granddaughter Tequal, take their leave. I will speak with her alone.